Good morning, Unity Christian Church of Memphis and guests. We're happy to have you with us here today. What a glorious day. What a glorious day. Last week, we talked about the Declaration of Independence, and we had a couple of questions like, why did you use the Declaration of Independence? Well, I'd like to share that with you. First of all, when I was a little girl, it was required that we read and understood the Declaration of Independence. There wasn't anybody saying that didn't apply to me, and if they did, I didn't know because I didn't hear it. Sometimes it's better not to hear the things that you don't want to go into your subconscious mind. I had enough things going on in my subconscious mind at that time. I happened to go to a Catholic school where all of my friends belonged to a country club, and they would have birthday parties that I couldn't go to because they didn't allow Black Americans into those country clubs unless they worked there. Well, you can imagine as a young person starting in elementary school and then through middle school how I felt. It was unfortunate, but it didn't change my consciousness because when I heard the words of the Declaration of Independence, I believed it applied to me. It said that it had inalienable rights, that I, as an American, and I used to wear my USA t-shirt, and I believed that I was supporting the uh, prisoners in Vietnam by wearing the dog tags and the ID bracelets, right? It said that I had the inalienable right for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I didn't think too much about life because I was living it and I was just a kid. Liberty, I believed liberty to be freedom. And like the Ohio player said, I just want to be free. And I claim that. But the pursuit of happiness, I could identify with because that was something that resonated with me. I today can say that all men are created equal. And when I speak to you from the point of view of a minister, all men and women, all people are created equal because we're created out of the image of God. And when we're created out of the image of God, we are equal. We may be different because our choices, the way we think, our exposures are different, but we are created equal. So when the founding fathers wrote those statements, which are true, and they are universal truths because we have spiritual freedom, we do have the pursuit, we are free to pursue happiness, the pursuit of happiness, and we have the right to life, everlasting life. All of these things are universal laws. Who doesn't want that? I can't think of one person that wouldn't want that. And it's very easy to get caught up in the story and not think that you deserve it or not think that I deserve to be happy. But if you know that it is your right, because as Jesus said, that heaven is at hand, if you know that it is your right, then you start your journey towards it. And the way that we do that is by being aware of the statements and the affirmations that we have in our mind. We have them subconsciously in our mind because we have said them so many times consciously. The way to change that is to become aware of the things that you are saying. Like, for example, I know I share the story about me being a single mom and how I was responsible for my two kids. I didn't have much support because my parents were older when I had my kids, but I had this amazing aunt that lives in East Texas, and she would give me a sense of peace so that I could go there and sleep in, and she'd make breakfast for the kids, and it was like heaven. But it gave me a chance to get my focus back. And the statements that I used at that time was that God is the source for all the good in my life. Despite the outside appearance of things that were going on in my life, I would stay firm with God is the source for all the good in my life. And the other statement of truth that I used was, what is meant for me by divine right cannot be taken away from me. What is meant for me by divine right cannot be taken away from me. You see, when I go back to when I was a child and I was studying those statements of the Declaration of Independence, it would have been very easy for me to fall into that story of I'm not good enough because I don't get invited to the party, or they really don't like me because my skin color is a different color. I didn't allow that to resonate with me. And someone may say that I had it a lot easier. I would say no, I may have had some things easier than some, but I had some things less easy than some. It depends on where you are in your state of mind and where you want to go. That's what I had to figure out. How am I going to create the vision for the life that I want to live? We all have the opportunity to create the life that we want, regardless of our circumstance. I speak once about, or frequently, I speak about a woman that I used to visit with in California. She was my counselor. She lived in Beverly Hills and she had a beautiful home with a beautiful Asian uh, garden. It was just gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And we were talking one day and she said, you know, Candace, you can create the life that you want. And I said, well, I thank you for that. And she said, no, really. She said, I grew up uh, poor in Philadelphia, and her parents were descendants of coal miners. And she said, I would sneak into the movie theater and I'd watch all the Katharine Hepburn movies. And I learned to walk like her, talk like her, dress like her. And then I studied hard in school. And there she was in this beautiful Beverly Hills house because she created this vision of what she wanted her life to look like. And they were based on what she believed to be true. She used her affirmations to create her reality. And when you think about the Declaration of Independence and you haven't come up with any affirmations for yourself, then you can hold those thoughts in your consciousness. I know it's not biblical, but it's spiritual. Everyone has the right to have a life with the pursuit of happiness and freedom, knowing that they are equal and they have the right to use their civic duty to use their voice in a vote in the United States of America. That's what that was about last Sunday on Independence Day, or the Independence Day weekend. This Sunday, we are talking about affirmations because to be aware that we're using these, whether we're conscious or unconscious. What is your personal affirmation? If you can't think of one, go back and use the Declaration of Independence. But whatever it is, it has to resonate with you as truth. What resonated for me as truth is that I wanted to create a life for my family that would be one of happiness and respect and harmony. Now, if you ask them, they would say I was a little crazy, but that's just what moms do sometimes. But I am a very proud mom. I'm a mom that was so determined that I encouraged my son to become an Eagle Scout. And I'm a proud mom of an amazing creative writer because she learned to explore her inner self and to express that in a way that touches the hearts of others. These were the things that I held in my mind as a vision for my family. And then for me to be where I am now, sharing with you as a minister, with my responsibility to research, pray, and to share lessons in teaching, this is what I visualized for myself. So again, I ask you, what are you visualizing for yourself? What is it that you want for yourself? Mine was not just something that I came up in my mind. It was like I was in meditation one day and it came up and it said, this is this. So then it became my vision. Then I wrote it down. And then I start to look and research and try to find ways to obtain this thing that seemed to be my purpose. And when I started going into action to get to those things that I felt that was my appointment to do, people were attracted to me. They would just volunteer to assist in some way or another. Before I knew it, the things that I had put on paper or had created in a dream board were starting to visualize for me. These are ways of how you create your tomorrow by the things you're thinking and saying today. Once we become more and more aware of the things that we're thinking, then we become closer to that thing that we are working towards in manifestation. Make no mistake, my life as a young person growing up in the 60s and 70s was not that of a Pollyanna where I didn't deal with the things that were happening in our lives during that time. When I say that I could hold on to those principles, that was despite the fact that my uncle was killed by the Ku Klux Klan because he believed in integration for schools so that all young people would have an opportunity to an equal education. And I remember my grandfather driving in his car because with his gun in his glove compartment or under his seat because he feared that he would be next. But we can't allow fear to stifle our actions and the things that we want for the bigger picture, for ourselves and our families. This doesn't sound like I'm quoting passages from the Bible, because what I'm saying right now, is an example of living from passages in the Bible. We are spiritual beings that have human experiences. Some of them are good, some of them are great, and some of them are challenging. But if we can hold in our minds that in a statement of truth, that things always work out and that God is the source of my good, and no one can take what is meant for me by divine right away from me, then you are living the examples of the teachings of Jesus the Christ. It's a choice. Otherwise, it's easy to believe the lie. The lie is the illusion that you can't do it. You're not good enough. It wasn't meant for you. Well, that's not true. And it's only true if you make it true. Because there was a time when things were the way they were, and then we evolved to where they are now. Do you want to live in the story of the lie, or do you want to move to the truth of who and what you deserve? It's a choice. And how can I say that? Well, think about it. Bathrooms were once outhouses. Cars were once carriages. Phones used to connect us to others by operators. We're constantly evolving. Change is the process of life. You either roll with it and be responsible for how it shows up in your life, or you allow someone else to make those decisions for you. It's a choice. That's the beautiful thing about free will. I can tell you it's a much more exciting ride when you take action. And if I hadn't done it the way that I did, through the challenges of the responsibility of being a mom of two young people and my career dissolving before my eyes and having to come up with another way to redefine myself. And I'm not talking about ministry. This is just another phase of what I've experienced in life. Before I got to ministry, I was working as a producer for 8 years. And then after that, I did 5 years of inner city mentoring for young people at a high school that were so totally amazing, and they changed me and taught me and inspired me. So ministry is just another aspect of this, of who I am. We all have multiple aspects of who we are. Don't be afraid to tap into it, because each time that you tap into something new, you have the support of God supporting you to become knowledgeable in that thing. I say that if there's something that you don't know how to do and you want to develop your relationship with God, think of one thing that you don't know how to do, but you want to learn, and then you rely on God to get you through it. Do that. That's how you establish the relationship with God. I would have preferred not to go through the struggle, but some people like to struggle, and I guess maybe I was one of them. But I cannot complain about where I ended up, because my relationship with God is so rich and abundant that I am thankful for every experience that I've had. And I'm not going to kid you and tell you that they were not painful. There are many times I'd go in the shower and cry. But there's something about allowing water to wash it off and get out and start all over again. I pretend like it's a baptism. I just tell myself that that's what I'm doing when I'm in the shower and I'm trying to get that off of me. And when I step out, I'm anew. So I invite you to consider these thoughts and see how they resonate with you. If they do, then try them. Next week, we're going to talk about the silence and how we take these thoughts and affirmations with us into the silence. Prayer is a methodology. Our purpose is to come back to our awareness and our oneness with God. We do this through our life experience. The only way that we can do this is to take action and do something. We're not going to have that relationship with God sitting on the sofa watching TV all day or being hypnotized by our work unless we're using God in our work. And I've done that many times and not been disappointed. So when you consider the opportunity available to you, start today. Start today and see what happens. I bless you and thank you for being here with us this morning. We look forward to seeing you next week. Our format will possibly change. We're constantly changing, but in every change, there is an opportunity of growth. And we thank you and bless you and pray that you stay safe, claim divine wholeness, know that God is always with you everywhere you are, present in all things. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for this amazing opportunity to express ourselves individually with you as our inspiration and guide. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen.